My name is Quentin Carton, and I'm a consultant at ServiceNow. I focus on RPA and other automation solution. I'm going to attempt today to explain how you can manage error handling, specifically in our RPA solution called RPA Hub. Oftentimes, I get the question from customers about how, when something goes wrong within the automation, how do you handle that? How do you design your automation to handle that? And what are the tools on the ServiceNow platform to manage that when some error or incident happen at the RPA automation level? So I'm connected to a ServiceNow instance on the out-of-the-box RPA Hub workspace, and you can see we expose incident. So my item for this little video today is to explain how we are able to capture and create incidents from RPA directly and expose this data. I'll explain the whole design concept when you build your automation, what you can do. So I'm going to go in ServiceNow Design Studio, where I created a very simple automation. And the goal of this video is not to tell you how to build an automation in RPA, is to specifically talk about error handling. As you can see that in my project on the right hand side, I have a main activity, that's what you see on the screen, and two sub-activity, actually three, one called init, one called process. If I double click on the init, this is just a start action to start an app on that machine. This is just to really simulate an RPA automation project there. So this is just a simple example to execute the calculator on a Windows machine. The other one is just gonna process, like do some entry on that application. So I could just show it to you, but this is not the point of this video. It's so I'll show you the robot is performing some click and action. I just built this just to support the conversation on error handling. If I go back to the main screen, you can see that I'm using a try-catch method that you can find in the toolbox. This is what you need to create your error handling in RPA Hub. So I got this searching in the left-hand side, try-catch, and this is what you need to use to catch any error message from any steps from within your automation. And I'm going to explain in detail how that works. Any step that you're putting in your canvas when you build your RPA project, you can configure the error handler. This is basically telling the system what behavior you want when something bad happens at any step of the process. An example would be you built a robot to automate a web interface, and the web interface have changed. The button you're trying to click from your robot is missing, so it's going to throw an error. What do you want the robot to do? Continue, retry, stop. So you can change the behavior at any step. By default, we inherit from the main project, the main automation, but if you want the behavior to change at a very specific step level, you can double click and, for example, this one, say, hey, right click error handler. For that particular step, I don't want to inherit the behavior from the activity above. I want to stop or retry, just because I know I can implement some logic to retry if for some reason something failed there. So you have this option to drive the behavior in case of error. So that's one thing. The other option is how do you read the error message? So you need to put your try-catch at the very beginning of your automation, and then configure that error handler at every step. For this one, I just keep inherit by default. And so what's going to happen is if it fails on error, the try-catch, I'm just saying you go to that path, right? That's what's going to happen. And if something goes wrong at that step or at that step, this step is gonna catch the error, give it to me as an output of that step, and then I can do something with it. And what I want to explain is, because a lot of customers are asking, okay, you have to build your error handling yourself, and that's kind of true, but there's a nice way of building a reusable activity in RPA Hub. So you build your error handling steps or activity once, and you can reuse it for every single step of your workflow. Basically, that's what I built there. So here, what I've done, it's not enough to catch the error. It's what are you doing with that error? Me, just for the sake of testing, I created an error handling activity there. And I define what it is I want to do with this. I said, okay, I want to catch the error message from the try catch. I want to catch the process name because I'm going to be using it as I'm logging error message somewhere. And I want to put stuff in the console. This is just for testing. Display in the console log the error message. I want to grab the machine name of that machine running the automation because it's going to be important. If I have 10 machines running the same robot and maybe one will fail, it's going to be very important information for me to troubleshoot. And what I've done, here it's calling a subflow. And the subflow, I'm passing the information I need to pass to that flow. And that flow basically is generating an incident. Because that's one of the benefits of using ServiceNow. We have ITSM. Our customer are already using incident problem change. So there's nothing better than using the incident management of ServiceNow to track issues when something bad happened with the robot. So here I've designed this myself. I've used the flow designer step to trigger a subflow, and I decided to pass those parameters to my subflow. Process name, error message, machine name. And I've created a simple flow, a no-code flow, to go and create an incident. So what's going to happen if something goes wrong? I'm starting the process. The process is a scheduled bot process or called by a workflow or an API. Something goes wrong, automatically the try catch step is going to catch the error, go in my error handling activity, pass the error message, the process name, and trigger that subflow to create a ticket. And I'm passing the process name there because we already have the bot process as a reference in the CMDB. So it's very useful information to tie the incident to the bot process, so we can link the bot process to the robot, or maybe show that we just had a change on that business application we are automating. So everything is linked to the CMDB. So I'll be able to troubleshoot better by creating an incident that is tied to a configuration item in the CMDB. So that's what I'm doing here. If I double click to the error handling, I'm calling that workflow. And I'm going to be showing to you the workflow, and then I'm going to simulate some error and show you exactly what this reusable error handling step I created is doing. So I'm jumping back to my instance. You see, I'm going to go in Flow Designer, and I created this RPA create incident subflow. That's the workflow that I'm calling from my error handling step in RPA. And I made sure I matched the parameters that I'm passing from the activities, process name, error message, machine name. That's the thing I feel it's important. I could put additional inputs. And what I do next is I'm looking up in the CMDB table, the RPA process that matched the process name that has an issue, from my robot. So I can then create an incident record with a specific short description. And obviously on the short description, I'm going to be passing the robot name, some information that I got directly from the robot. Because the robot is passing me the process name, machine name, error message, and so on. And you can see when I create the incident record in ServiceNow, this is the tie-in to the CMDB and the configuration item. When I design my automation there, I've added an additional step, here a variable. I put the bot process name. I'm setting the bot process name when I'm building my automation. So I make sure when I go through my error handling step, I'm passing the process name. So we can link, when I'm creating the incident, we can link this to the bot process. There may be other way to do this, but that's an easy way I found to do the link between the incident and the process and the CMDB CI. So that's what creating the ticket in ServiceNow. So I think there's no better way than just showing how that works. So I'm gonna kind of fake it for now, simulate an error. I'm gonna close the calculator there. I'm gonna make sure my automation fails so we can see what's happening here. So I'm gonna be closing all of that, and I'm gonna be making a small modification to my start app step. I'm gonna just change the path. So now this is gonna fail because it won't be able to find the calculator on my machine. So when I execute, I clear the log and I execute the robot, it should fail. So as expected, it failed. I have an error there, but keep in mind it's an unattended robot. So when this is running in production, nobody's gonna watch that screen. So and see if there is an error. So you want ticket to be automatically generated. People will then be notified. The ticket will be assigned to the right team if you configure the workflow the right way. But here you see I failed at step 1, and automatically, because I'm using the try catch, I'm going through my logic, my error handling logic. And if I double click into it, you can see that I'm passing a bunch of information, data output. I can see, hey, exception occurred while trying to start the page. So you have the very detailed error message there. Cannot find the executable, the process name is there. I'm showing in the console right there, additional information. And then we trigger the workflow in ServiceNow to generate that ticket. So I'm gonna go in the workflow there, on my, not the workflow, but on the incident table, and reload the page. And you should see a new ticket that just arrived. So it's 10:46 my time here, so 10:44, 2 minutes ago. And when I click on it, you can see a new incident ticket, the short description tied to the CMDB CI. This is correspond to the bot process that is declared, referred in the CMDB. And additional detail, bot process, the name of the robot, the virtual machine that has an issue, and the exact error message. Eventually, you want to auto-assign, and you want to assign the ticket to the right team. This can be done directly from the workflow. I can add a value there and say assignment group and type the RPA team, for example. So I can just modify it there, save. So now next time I create a ticket, this will be assigned to the RPA team. I'm gonna publish. We also have like intelligence method to auto-assign ticket based on what you have on those fields. So you could use, different techniques on the platform, so you don't have to configure the assignment group. The system will do it using AI and machine learning based on the short description. On the description, it can predict on which team that ticket should be assigned, but that's a different story. So I have modified my flow, so next time I run it, it's gonna be assigned to the right team. But you can see that this is how the ticket, we can display in those nice dashboard, those incident ticket, and tie that back to the CMDB. So that was, I've shared with you when there is an error on my step 1, but I'm talking about a reusable error handling step. So here we failed at the step 1 because I've modified the path of that automation. So it failed step 1, but I want to show you that it will also work perfectly if it failed at step 2, step 3, or whatever number of steps you have. So I'm just gonna fix this. So it passed the step number 1 in my flow, in my automation, and I'm gonna, on purpose, generate some kind of issue in my step there that doing some fancy mathematics there. I know this, if I click there, because I didn't configure properly that step, it should fail hopefully. So I'm gonna just add that step and make sure my automation fail. So now it should fail at step number 2. The reason why I'm showing this to you is to show you that you just create once your error handling activity, and then it's gonna be it's gonna go through my because I'm using the try catch, it's gonna go through my error handling step, create a ticket even though if I'm failing on the step number 2. And you can have a more complex process with 20 steps, it's gonna be the same logic. So let's try again. Hopefully it fails so we can see that this is going there. So I just click on it. It's gonna do some stuff, but it's gonna be unable to capture the result from the calculator. So see, it failed. Obviously, I think I'm logging things there. It's a win element result cannot be found because I didn't configure on purpose that step. And it went through directly to my error handling step. If I go to my ticket list there and I refresh, we should see it with a different error message. So I'm just showing this to you, so it's quite generic and flexible. So you can be confident that you have all the things you need to perform your error handling using the ServiceNow RPA. I probably need to refresh my screen, so let me do that. Gonna click on all ticket. And now this is 1049, so that's my ticket. You see now it's automatically assigned to the right team. But that's, of course, you can put more logic to assign a ticket to different team. See, so now it's a different error. I'm failing. I know as an RPA admin, I can clearly understand what happened there. Component get text failed to execute, exception thrown by the target, and I can really understand that. And that's it. So that I hope this is useful. If I click on the bot process, actually, one last thing. If I click on the bot process, I should be able to see all the job. The process job, by default, we already grab errors and you can configure the granularity. By default, you don't have to do anything in RPA to see the error or the execution status of a robot. You will see it there in the process job. What I've created is more granular error handling directly from the automation. What should I do if that step failed? By default, we're just gonna say, hey, it failed. We're not gonna create for you the incident or put some logic, say, if that error message contains that string, then do that. This is up to you to design this in your automation. So I just want to be clear, by default, we bring automatically those, when the robot fails, we can see it directly centrally on the instance. What I've done in adding an error handling step in my automation to have more flexibility and granularity in the way I handle my error. So just wanted to recap. Keep in mind that in any step you can use the error handler, configure independently on an activity and sub activity. You use a try catch to catch error message from any step. And this is what I've created myself, the error handling activity. I just named it error handling. And this is where I put my whatever logic I have to treat that error. Grabbing the machine name, taking the error message from the try catch, and maybe triggering a workflow that's going to be creating a ticket or something like that. And you can add on top of it. So thank you for your time. I hope I've kind of demystified the error handling within RPA. And feel free to contact me if there is any question. Thank you.